Her son's fiancée called the doctor to her home. She was charming, she was concerned, and she was a dangerous liar. She told the doctor I was losing my mind, that I was a danger to myself. But she forgot one crucial detail. I was a librarian for 40 years, and I keep records of everything.
My name is Elara Vance. I am 72 years old. My home in Port Blossom, Washington, is quiet. It smells of old books, salt air from the Puget Sound, and the Earl Grey tea I brew every morning. The silence of my retirement was something I had earned, a comfortable blanket I wrapped around myself after decades of service. Until Chloe entered our lives. Chloe was my son David's fiancée. She was everything I was not. She was bright, loud, ambitious, and worked in wealth management. She spoke quickly, used terms I didn't understand, and always seemed to be calculating the value of everything she looked at, including the antique furniture my late husband, Arthur, and I had collected. But David loved her. He was an architect, a gentle soul who saw beauty in structure, and he saw a future in Chloe's bright, hard energy. For his sake, I tried. I truly did.
That Tuesday morning, the fog was thick, pressing against my windows like a shroud. I was cataloging my personal collection of first editions when the doorbell rang. It was Dr. Aris Thorne, our family physician for 30 years. He looked worried, his medical bag in hand. "Elara," he said, his voice heavy with concern. "May I come in? We had a call." I stepped aside, confused. "Aris, is everything all right? I didn't have an appointment." "I know," he said, stepping into the foyer. "Chloe called me. She sounded frantic. She said you had a fall this morning, that you hit your head, and that you've been extremely disoriented ever since. She was worried you might have a concussion or worse." I stared at him. "A fall? Aris, I haven't fallen. I've been right here in my study since breakfast." Dr. Thorne paused, his gaze sweeping over me. I was in my usual attire, a wool cardigan, comfortable slacks, and my reading glasses perched on my nose. I was not injured. I was not disoriented. She was very specific, Elara. She said you called her, confused, claiming you couldn't find your kitchen. And then she heard a crash. "She lied," I said. The words were quiet, but they landed in the heavy air between us with the weight of stones. "She did not speak to me this morning, and I did not fall." "Elara," he said gently, taking a seat as I motioned him into the living room. "Chloe is a finance professional. She is a very logical, level-headed person. Why would she invent a story like that?" "Because," I said, sitting opposite him, "my son's fiancée is trying to have me declared mentally incompetent." Dr. Thorne looked startled, as if I had just confessed to a crime myself. "That's an incredibly serious accusation." "It is," I agreed, "and I have incredibly serious proof. But before I show you, perhaps you should hear her side of the story. I believe she is waiting for her cue." As if summoned, my front door opened. David always used his key, but Chloe always knocked first, a performance of politeness. This time she didn't knock. She burst in, her face a perfect mask of panic and concern. "Oh, thank goodness, Dr. Thorne, you're here," she cried, rushing over. She completely ignored me, focusing her attention on the doctor. She fell. I was on the phone with her, and she sounded so confused, asking where Arthur was, and then she screamed. I drove straight here. She turned to me, her eyes wide and wet. "Elara, honey, are you okay? You wouldn't answer the door." I just looked at her. I said nothing. My silence was a vacuum, and her frantic energy rushed to fill it. "See, doctor?" she whispered, gesturing toward me. "She's just staring. This is what I've been talking about. The dissociation, the memory lapses. It's been getting so much worse. I'm just so worried about her being alone in this big house." Dr. Thorne looked from her to me, his professional mask settling firmly in place. "Mrs. Vance, Chloe, why don't we all sit down? Elara, you claim you did not fall." "I did not," I said. "I was in my study." "She's forgetting," Chloe insisted, her voice breaking beautifully. "Doctor, she forgets entire conversations. Just last week, we agreed to meet for lunch and she never showed up. When I called her, she insisted we had never made the plan. She's been misplacing things, valuable things. She accused me of moving her pearls. It's classic sundowning, isn't it? If you believe in the power of quiet strength and you enjoy stories where the truth finds its way out, Take a moment to subscribe to our channel for more stories like this one. Dr. Thorne looked at me. Elara, is this true? Have you been experiencing memory lapses? I held up one finger. Please, wait here, both of you. I walked slowly to my study. I could hear Chloe's hushed, urgent whispering behind me. You see? The slow response, the confusion. She needs help, doctor. David and I are prepared to provide it. We've even been researching lovely assisted living facilities, just in case. I returned to the living room carrying 2 items. The first was a large leather-bound book. The second was a small silver USB drive. What is that? Chloe asked, her eyes narrowing slightly. Your diary? My journal, I corrected her. I was a librarian for 40 years, Chloe. I am a person of record. I document everything. It is not a symptom of paranoia. It is the habit of a lifetime. I opened the journal and laid it on the coffee table. The pages were filled with neat, precise cursive. You mentioned a missed lunch last week, I said, addressing Dr. Thorne. I flipped through the pages. Here we are, Tuesday the 14th. Chloe called to schedule lunch. I declined. Told her I had my standing Tuesday lunch with Martha Riley. I then have a notation. Lunch with Martha at the Southie Gow. Discuss her new rose garden. Home by 2 p.m. Martha, as you know, doctor, is your receptionist. You could call her and ask. Chloe's expression faltered, just for a second. You must have written that down afterward, Elara. You got confused. And the pearls, I continued, ignoring her. You claimed I accused you of moving them. Here is the entry from Friday the 17th. Chloe visiting. She admired my pearls, the ones Arthur gave me. She asked to try them on. She forgot to return them. I found them later on the guest room nightstand. I did not accuse you, Chloe. I simply retrieved my own property after you misplaced it. Chloe forced a laugh, though it sounded brittle. Doctor, this is exactly what I mean. This obsessive logging of every tiny event, it's not normal. She's building a fantasy world to cope with her decline. I agree this journal alone is not proof, I said calmly. It is my word against yours. But you see, you made a very critical error. You assumed I was only meticulous with paper. You forgot about the technology David installed for me. I held up the silver USB drive. What is that? Chloe asked, her voice sharper now. David bought me one of those smart speakers for Christmas, I explained to Dr. Thorne. He thought I would enjoy listening to audiobooks. I find it mostly intrusive, but it has one very interesting feature. It keeps a log of audio requests. Sometimes it activates by mistake. It records snippets of conversation thinking it heard its wake word. Chloe's face, that perfect mask of concern, was beginning to crack. A pale white was spreading around her mouth. You've been having many conversations in this house lately, Chloe, I said. You talk on your phone constantly. You seem to think that because I am in the other room, I am deaf. Or perhaps you just thought I was too senile to understand. I exported the audio logs from the past 2 months. You spied on me? Chloe gasped, turning to Dr. Thorne. She's spying on me. This is paranoia. It's illegal. It's my home, I said. And the device records ambient sound. It is not illegal. And it is very, very informative. I looked at Dr. Thorne. I do not have a way to play this for you, but I have transcripts. However, I believe my son is about to arrive. Chloe seems to have called him as well, to manage the crisis. Perhaps he can play it for us on his laptop. The front door opened again. This time, it was David. He looked exhausted and terrified. Mom? Dr. Thorne? Chloe? What's wrong? Your message sounded... He stopped, seeing me sitting calmly in my chair, holding a USB drive. David! Thank God! Chloe ran to him, grabbing his arm. She's had a terrible episode. She fell and now she's delusional. She's accusing me of terrible things and she says she's been recording me. David looked at me, his heart in his eyes. Mom, what is this? Are you okay? I am perfectly fine, David, I said. I did not fall. But your fiancée is correct. I have been recording her, and I think you need to hear why. David looked from me to Chloe, his face a canvas of confusion. Mom, what are you talking about? Recording Chloe? That doesn't sound like you. She's paranoid, David, Chloe insisted, her grip tightening on his arm. Dr. Thorne, you're the professional here. Tell him, this isn't normal behavior. She's obsessed. She's logging everything. She thinks I'm trying to hurt her. Dr. Thorne held up a hand. David, your mother has made some very serious claims, And Chloe, you have made counterclaims about her health. Elara has evidence she would like to present. I believe we should hear it. David slowly unzipped his bag and pulled out his laptop. He looked at me, his eyes pleading for a simple explanation, for this all to be a misunderstanding. Mom, what is on this drive? The truth, I said simply, handing it to him. Plug it in. Open the folder labeled audio logs. Find the file dated last Thursday, the one labeled estate planning. Chloe's breath hitched. It was a tiny sound, but in the quiet room it was as loud as a gunshot. Estate planning? David murmured, his fingers flying across the trackpad. He found the file and double-clicked. Chloe's voice filled the room, not the concerned, gentle voice she used with us, but a sharp, clinical, impatient one. No, I told you we can't wait for that. We need to petition for an expedited competency hearing. Her son is on my side, he just needs a professional push. He's worried about her, but he's soft. If we get the doctor's sign-off, we can have power of attorney in a month. David froze. He stopped breathing. He stared at the laptop as if it were a snake. The voice on the recording continued. Yes, the house is the main asset. It's prime waterfront. The appraisal came in at 2.3 million. Once we have control, we can liquidate, and that's the seed capital for our firm. But we have to move fast. The old woman is sharper than she looks. The recording clicked off. David slowly raised his head. He didn't look at me. He looked at the woman clinging to his arm. Chloe, he whispered. What is that? David, baby, that is completely out of context, she said, her voice trembling, but this time with real fear. She's manipulated that audio. That was a conversation about a client, a hypothetical case. A hypothetical case, I asked, my voice still quiet. A client named Elara, with a house worth 2.3 million, with a soft son named David. You. Chloe ripped her arm away from David's. Her face was no longer pale. It was flushed with rage. You old witch. You have been spying on me. You have been trying to steal my home and my freedom, I countered. You have been systematically lying to my son, trying to turn him against me. You have been planting seeds of doubt with everyone in this town, trying to build a case that I am senile. Also, you could sell my house and fund your business. David, Chloe turned to him, her eyes flashing. Are you going to let her talk to me like this? It's her or me? Who do you believe? Your mother, who is clearly declining and becoming paranoid, or me, the woman you're going to marry? David looked lost. He was trapped between the two of us, the evidence ringing in his ears. He wanted to believe her. Love is a powerful anesthetic. Mom, the audio, it could be... He's right, Chloe said, seizing the opportunity. It could be anything, it's just words. But look at her, David. Look at the obsessive journals, the secret recordings. That's the real evidence. She is unwell. She almost had him. I could see the doubt winning. But Chloe, in her arrogance, had forgotten one last thing. She is right, David, I said, my heart breaking for what I was about to do to my son. That audio is just words, so perhaps you should look at this. I walked back to my study and retrieved a single piece of paper from my desk printer. I handed it to David. What is it? He asked. It's an email, I said. It was sent to me by mistake yesterday. The address was evans@gmail.com. Mine is e.vance@gmail.com. The sender, a Port Blossom Realty, must have missed the dot. It appears Chloe used my email address instead of her own when she requested the appraisal. David unfolded the paper. It was a full, formal real estate appraisal for my address for $2.3 million. It was addressed to Miss Chloe Sellers, and at the bottom was a note from the realtor. Per your request, this appraisal has been conducted discreetly from the exterior. We are ready to list as soon as you give the word. David stared at the paper for a long, silent minute. The color drained from his face. He didn't get angry. He didn't shout. He just deflated. The love, the hope, the future he had built in his mind, it all crumbled. You had my mother's house appraised, he stated. It wasn't a question. David, Chloe began, her voice desperate. I was just getting information, planning for the future, protecting our assets. Protecting our assets? He repeated, his voice hollow. This is my mother's home. The home I grew up in, the home my father died in, and you were trying to sell it. She's 72, David. Chloe finally snapped, her mask of civility gone forever. She doesn't need a 5-bedroom house on the water. It's a waste. It's capital. Just sitting there, rotting away, just like she is. I was trying to build a life for us. A real life. Not this small town sentimentality. I was trying to save you. Get out, David whispered. What? Get out of my mother's house. Now. David, don't be ridiculous. We are getting married. No, he said, holding up the appraisal. We are not. It's over. Get out. Chloe stared at him, her mind clearly calculating, trying to find a new angle, a new way to spin the narrative. She looked at Dr. Thorne, who was watching her with cold, clinical disapproval. She looked at me, and her eyes were filled with pure, undiluted hatred. She smoothed her blouse, picked up her expensive handbag, and walked to the door. You will regret this, David. Both of you. You're choosing this relic, over me. She slammed the door behind her. The silence that followed was heavier than the fog outside. David sank into a chair and put his head in his hands. He didn't make a sound. Dr. Thorne finally stood up, packing his bag. Alara, he said, his voice soft, I am profoundly sorry. I should have trusted you. I have known you for 30 years. You are a doctor, Eris, I said, pouring him a glass of water, my hand perfectly steady. You had to follow the evidence. I'm just glad I had it.
What she did, he said, shaking his head. Attempting to manipulate a medical diagnosis for financial gain. That's more than just greed. It's over, I said. But I was wrong. It wasn't over. Chloe had one last act of malice planned. A few days later, my friend Martha called me. Elara, she said, her voice tight with anger. You need to look at the Port Blossom Community Facebook group. Right now.
I rarely use social media, but I logged on, and there it was. A long, beautifully written post by Chloe Sellers. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. She announced, with a broken heart, that her engagement to David was over. She explained that it was due to a tragic family situation. She wrote about her desperate attempts to get help for David's mother, Elara, who was suffering from a rapid, aggressive decline in her mental faculties. She detailed my paranoia, my delusions, and my violent accusations. She claimed I had threatened her, and that for her own safety, she had to step away from the family, though it broke her heart to leave David to handle his mother's tragic condition alone. She finished by asking the community to please pray for the Vance family, and to keep an eye on Alara. It was brilliant. In one post, she had poisoned the entire town against me. She had painted herself as the victim and me as the unstable, dangerous old woman. She had turned my home into a fishbowl and me into the specimen. My phone began to ring. Neighbors, friends, members of my old book club, but the calls weren't what I expected. Elara, this is Helen from the bakery, the first voice said. I just read that horrible post. I wanted you to know that I told that young woman exactly where she could go. We've known you for 40 years. You're the sharpest woman in this town. The next call was from Mr. Henderson, who owns the hardware store. Mrs. Vance? Just saw the Facebook post. Utter rubbish. That fiancé of David's came in here last month asking about advanced door locks, the kind you used to keep people in. I thought it was strange then. Makes sense now. Don't you worry, we've got your back. Then Martha, Dr. Thorne's receptionist, commented on the post itself. As Elara's friend of 30 years, and as someone who had lunch with her on the very day this person claims Elara was lost and confused, I can state for a fact that this is a malicious, disgusting lie. Elara Vance is the most competent person I know. One by one, the community I had served for 4 decades rallied. The post that was meant to destroy my reputation became a testament to it. People shared stories of how I had helped them find books, how I had organized the town literacy drive, how I had remembered their children's names year after year. Chloe's post, still visible, was now buried under hundreds of comments defending me, supporting me, and expressing outrage at her. Her attack had backfired spectacularly. She had tried to isolate me, and in doing so, had shown me just how many people truly cared. By evening, the post was deleted. A week later, I heard Chloe had resigned from her job and left Seattle. David was still healing. Our relationship was strained, wounded by his doubt, but the lies were gone, and we had a foundation of truth to build on again. That night, I sat in my study. The fog had cleared, and I could see the lights of the ferries moving across the sound. I opened my journal. I wrote down: Tuesday, Dr. Thorne visited. Chloe's deception was revealed. David is home. The community is strong. I took the silver USB drive and the appraisal printout. I filed them away in my desk drawer, not as trophies of a victory, but as records. A reminder that the most valuable things in life are not houses or money, but truth and the clarity to recognize it. My name is Alara Vance, and I remember everything. Thank you for listening to this story. If you've ever faced a situation where you had to rely on your own strength and records to find the truth, share your thoughts in the comments below. And please, don't forget to subscribe.